Catherine, I want to start with you. Is this the year Arizona turns blue?
It surely might be. Can polls show that potential President
Good
Biden
afternoon.
is consistently ahead of Trump? And then also we see
Tranquil
polling
government.
that shows Mark Kelly ahead of Martha McSally consistently in the Senate race. There's evidence to believe that maybe both the state house and Senate could flip. And then we have three competitive congressional races, and then not to mention down ballot races. So, I think that there is a lot of reason to believe that this could be the year.
Barrett, you're our conservative commentator in this conversation. What do you say?
Just a few weeks ago, I might have taken the dystopian view of your other guest, Catherine, and it certainly was not looking good. However, since the conventions, since the changing political landscape of the last couple of weeks, I no longer share that view. I think that Republicans should be feeling a little bullish. Still, Martha McSally is still behind Mark Kelly, but certainly making a huge comeback. Um, Trump is starting to make inroads into Biden's lead. So I think that you're going to see very much a tightening of the polls here in the next couple weeks, and it'll be a very good race coming down to the wire. Early balloting starts in really just a little over a month.
Are Democrats in Arizona, though, very excited about Biden as the candidate?
Well, I think there's a little bit of a coalition. I think that Arizona Democrats are very excited about the ticket, about the Biden-Kamala ticket in 2020. And then also there's a real urgency around not re-electing Donald Trump. What we have seen is more so, I think, than people even feared, is this very direct correlation between who you elect to the White House and people's lives. People feel less safe than they have in a really long time, economically, physically, from a health point of view, even safe in their communities. And they're really looking for something different and somebody that they can trust to make wise decisions and see us through the various crises that we're facing. And they see that in Harris and Biden, and they don't in Trump.
I think that to counter Catherine a little bit, the enthusiasm gap among Biden voters and Trump voters is pretty strong. Trump voters are very enthusiastic about him. However, Biden voters, according to polls, they're not that enthusiastic about the Biden ticket. And I think we're going to see that continue to play out. I don't think that there's a lot of enthusiasm. There may be some enthusiasm among people about not voting for Trump or voting for him being the polarizing figure in all this. But a lot of supporters for Biden aren't enthusiastic about him whatsoever.
But we have Republicans who are sitting at home listening to you and saying conservatives aren't fully behind Donald Trump, but he is a Republican. And Catherine, you have Democrats who are saying we've got to have a Democrat on the ticket, so I'm going with Joe Biden.
Yeah, I think what Barrett is talking about is a fairly small portion of the voting population that is passionately supportive of Donald Trump. And what is also going on is a huge, huge, huge swath of the electorate that are independent and Republicans who just cannot stomach voting for Donald Trump. And that very small, enthusiastic base that Trump does have does not counter the huge number of Republicans that are not going to vote for a Republican. And I think we see this in the last week or so with the litany of former McCain staffers who have come out and endorsed Biden. And that really speaks to that Republican independent voting bloc in Arizona who just are not going to vote for Trump.
So Arizona's long been known as a conservative stronghold. What does it take to shift things the other direction? Catherine.
I think a couple of things are happening. So we've definitely seen a really huge increase in the Latino population in the last few years in Arizona. You've also seen an influx of people moving here from other states, from California, from other densely populated states, and potentially, bringing their politics with them.
Let me just say, Lorraine, it's very important to remember, many people are coming here from California, for instance. There's no doubt about that. But they are leaving, as a California native myself, they are leaving California for several reasons. The choking traffic, the extraordinarily high taxes, the overregulations that are killing businesses. They want to escape that climate, come to Arizona where we don't have those things. So, popular phrases, don't California my Arizona. We don't have those kinds of bad policies here. And that's why you escaped California. So don't bring those policies here. Otherwise, you're just going to turn Arizona into a junior California.
But and to Catherine's point, which you just alluded to, so they're bringing their politics with them. Is that why, for example, Kirsten Sinema won the Senate in the last race?
Well, I don't know if I don't know if they're bringing their politics with them. Again, they left very liberal politics, for instance, in California. They left it for a reason, and it's because those policies were choking off businesses, were leading to high congestion in the cities. So they've left that environment, coming to a low tax state where you have your freedom to run your business as you please. So I think that's a big deal, and hopefully those Californians decide not to bring those policies to Arizona.
All right, let's talk about fiscal responsibility, because both parties will talk about it. They're all spending quite a bit of money on the airways, as we've seen here. How does that resonate with the average Arizonan right now?
Well, there's no doubt, being a presidential year, one of the highest profile Senate races in the entire country, both sides are spending money. 2 years ago, the McSally-Sinema race was about $150 million, or $125 million race. This year, we expect it to be about $150 million race. Both sides are putting in so much money. Everybody is going to see Mark Kelly and Martha McSally on their screen, whether it's from the candidates themselves or their supporting groups.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. We are seeing so much money. The other thing that we're seeing is just a great deal of attention on the state. I noticed yesterday that Julie Gunnigal, the candidate running for Maricopa County Attorney, received the endorsement of musical name John Legend. And that isn't typically the type of attention that we have seen in Arizona. And so, Donald Trump is going to be visiting here, is anticipated to visit here a record number of times. We think that, I assume that we'll see the same thing from the Democratic side of the ticket. So it's not only that monetary investment, but it's also the attention that you get, and also just being included in the news cycle, being considered a swing state and at the top of that list it has a huge difference. And money doesn't directly translate to more votes, but it certainly has an impact.
But what's the interest in Arizona? I mean, 11 electoral votes?
Well, in a tight race nationwide, where 3 states could, decide the whole presidential election, or 4 states, you think about if Joe Biden flips Wisconsin and Pennsylvania and Michigan, but Arizona is integral to still what's going on. 11 votes can be a decisive lead, or a decisive number of votes to swing the outcome of this election, for sure.
Yeah, and I think because of demographic changes, we can expect that to be true for midterm and presidential elections for years to come. And so you wouldn't want to overlook a state that has changing demographics.
And remember, Donald Trump didn't cross the 50% mark in his 2016 win. So there is opportunity. Democrats do see opportunity now, as everyone is more paying attention. I think the race is just going to be as close as it was in 2016.
All right. That'll keep the two of you busy over the next few weeks here. My thanks to both of you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.